Hey, everybody, welcome to Live Fully Lead Authentically. My name is Kurt Busch. I am one of your hosts and co-founder of the Brimstone Coaching Group. I'm here with Chris Godfredson, the other half of Brimstone Coaching Group. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Chris, we have a new friend with us.
Yeah, we do.
If people are watching, they already see that. Listeners, we have a new friend. Her name is Stephanie Mcallister. She's a researcher, a clinician, and an entrepreneur, and she's the founder of Virtual Connect Cross Canada Counseling Clinic.
I
Stephanie,
was wondering if you were going to trip over all the C's. You didn't, though. Way to
pro,
go. That's
pro man.
impressive. Yeah.
I'm a pro.
You're
Uh,
the pod king. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Stephanie, welcome to Live Fully Lead Authentically. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm super excited to get into this.
Yeah. Well, before we get into your work, I have the hardest hitting question of the day. We're
Drum
going to
roll.
start this. Yeah, we're going to start this from now on with all of our guests. We're going to start
Mm.
heavy right away. Let's pretend for a second. Let's get hypothetical, Stephanie. You have in front of you on a counter, right? The most beautiful overflowing bowl of Halloween candy you've ever seen. And
Mm.
it is literally filled with every Halloween candy you've ever seen. Which candy are you going to pull out of that bowl first?
I love this. Okay, so I feel like you can categorize into chocolate and then like candy. So I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
go with
Hmm.
two. I'm gonna go with a Reese's cup, which I feel like is good call, unless you're of
Uh-huh.
course peanut butter. And then fuzzy peaches would be the two I would grab.
Fuzzy
What was
peach.
this?
Fuzzy
Fuzzy
peaches.
peaches?
I don't know about fuzzy peaches, Stephanie. Tell us
Is
about
that
fuzzy
not a
peaches.
thing in America?
I mean, our
Oh,
peaches have fuzz on them, but I don't know them as candy. Uh,
oh, okay.
tell
They're
us.
like little
Mm.
gummies.
Okay.
Sometimes a little sour. So yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's something new. I didn't know that was a
Okay.
Canadian thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you picking two tells us about you. Uh,
What
Yes.
did you gather from that?
well, I am not going to tell you because you are the clinician here. I'll let you gather what you want from that. Uh, Stephanie, all joking aside, we are super excited to talk to you about the work that you do. But one of the things that stood out to me as we were talking about you coming on and being a part of this with us is something you wrote in a message to me. Um,
Mm.
you wrote in a message that your words, you said you've made some poor business decisions because of some people pleasing, but you're working to move past that.
Mm.
As a pleaser, I was intrigued.
Mm.
Can you just say a little more about that and how you're kind of working through that?
Yeah, I think I kind of want to reverse a little bit because it'll help answer. So when you, and something that I've learned through this journey, so obviously I run Virtual Connect Counseling Clinic and was an entrepreneur and started that up. And it's so funny because when you go down your own path and you start your own business, you're like seeking out advice and seeking out bosses, which is like kind of hilarious because being an entrepreneur is like you're your own boss.
Yeah.
Right.
You're looking for advice and guidance and all of these things. And I think something that I've learned is in the midst of that, other people are also running their own businesses and other people
Mm.
are also trying to sell you stuff to help you like promote your company. But that's not always something that's super useful. And I think one of the biggest things that comes to mind when I think of that is things that I had maybe like signed up for different advertising programs and stuff that oh, people were like, oh, give it time, give it time, give it time. And like that was probably, if I'm gonna like categorize, I think we're talking about like entrepreneurship here. That was probably
Yeah.
one of like the biggest mistakes I made was that I let something go on for like quite a while and it cost me quite a bit of money and I was not
Yes.
return on investment. And I was just, I kept being told like, it's gonna work, like you don't understand how this is operating. And I didn't. I had no idea. I was new to this. I was learning. And I think now I'm a lot more I don't want to say hardened, but I guess like hardened in the approach of like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, you can give me a free website audit. You can do this, you can do that. I'm not going to pay for anything and I'm not going to commit to anything unless like I see a good return on investment. So when I sent you that message, that was I think the biggest thing that came to mind for me was like, don't let things go on forever. If you're not seeing a return on investment, set a mental note, okay, because you have to try things. I'm
Yeah.
going to try things for, I always say like 3 to 6 months because when you're an entrepreneur, everything takes longer than you hope it would, but cut it off and don't let people talk you into the
Yeah.
fact that like, it's going to
Yeah.
get better. It's going to get better. Because for me,
No,
with
it's
one,
not.
It didn't. It never got better.
Yeah.
And I was like, until I chose to cut it off, and I was like, okay, this form of like marketing, I'm not going to call anyone out. So I'm being very general. Didn't go in the direction I'd hoped it would. And so yeah, that I think is what I meant when I said people pleasing.
So
Yeah.
can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, of course.
So what did what did that require of you to be able to lean into that and really like make that choice?
Honestly, I think I got to the point where I was like, this isn't working. And like you have told me this is going to work.
Hmm.
I think it was like a year. It went on for a while. And I was
Hmm.
like, you've told me and your timelines are all come and gone and it's still not working. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm no
Yeah.
longer gonna listen. And I did a as one does, I did a soft departure. I was like, I'm gonna take a break for a couple of months here.
Hmm.
And I was kind of like, no, I can't go back to this because I found something that worked. And I was like, this
Huh.
is how you do things when it works.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I feel like you're reading our mail, Stephanie. I think we have the
Yeah.
same. I think we had this. We've had some of the same advertising people.
Oh, really?
Well, we haven't, but we have because
Yeah,
everyone has the answer. And what's actually true is it's not true.
yeah,
And and I'm less of a people pleaser than either of you.
Mm,
And and you still like, okay, I'm trusting.
yeah.
And then it like, okay, it does require something in me at times to like step in or to not just step on somebody. That's what it requires more for me actually. But um yeah, that I mean, there's a powerful story and it helps cement the fact, yeah, she might be our people.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
is one of those things where you don't know going into it. And I think that was another big part of it is like you have no idea what it's like to market and advertise. And I was so new to everything that like you do listen
Hmm.
to people who tell you they know what they're talking about. But they were doing a great job for their business.
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stephanie, you have a diverse background, right? You just gave me a really short intro, but you have research in your background, you have clinical work in your background, and you're starting a business. What did you have to? I mean, I like practically there's so much to learn to start a business, but what if I may ask, what in you did you have to like relearn
Mm.
or uncover or set aside? Like what surprised you about what you had to learn about yourself to do that?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think for me, what I learned through this is like, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I learned that I had to develop a sense of patience and a sense of like, I'm gonna say not caring, but a sense of being like,
Mm.
okay, it'll work out. Because if there's one thing I've learned in the realm of strictly like entrepreneurship, it's like almost like there was points where like every day there was like a fire or something going wrong, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'll deal with it. And in the research world that I lived in, I'll never forget my boss said to me, he's like, well, if it doesn't get done today, it'll get done tomorrow. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's a weird thing to say because I feel like you're always busy and there's always
Hmm.
something you can do when you're an entrepreneur. But that acceptance of like, you're not going to be able to get everything done in one day. So I feel like that is something that I've learned about myself and more so a skill I've had to develop through
Mm.
this process.
Say a little bit more about that. I love what you just said. It's a skill that you had to develop.
Yeah, it's really just my sister has a saying and I love it. And she says, if you're the calmest person in the room, you have the most control.
Hmm.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that leads into all of this in the sense of like, okay, I'll never forget the one day I don't even know how I did this, but I like almost canceled my Google domain. And anyone who has a website knows that that's like connected to all of your emails and your
Yeah.
website and really everything. And I was like, how did this even happen? And I remember just being like, it's okay. I'm gonna figure it out. And it's not an option not to. I'm the only one here who's doing this business. Like you always have people you can lean on and talk to, but at the end of the day, like it's on you to figure it out. And I think that developing a sense of like calm when things go wrong and being able to navigate a lot at once and a lot of people needing things from you at once is another big one that I've kind of learned in this journey is you always have someone asking for help or an opinion or advice or something at any point in
Yeah.
any day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's I mean, I think that's really good. We'll say sometimes as leaders, maybe like the best leaders are the least anxious presence in the room, which feels like exactly what you just said.
Yes.
Uh,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe that's just enough, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it really isn't about skills or knowledge as much as it is.
Well, the thing is, for me, at least my perspective would be this, that I think everyone believes that calm is a trait,
Mhm.
or that calm is, it's easy, it's just it's something that we were born with. And when I hear you say, it's a skill that I can develop, it's like now anybody can learn how to do these things, and when we can learn them, then like that actually gives hope if I'm not typically a calm person. But at the same time, a calm person it has more to do with regulation than it does to actually be with calm, right? And now I'm going to nerd out and try not to. But that's the thing is like you, anyone can learn how to do these things, to be calm, to be steady, to not blow their cool when they don't need to. So I really value how you said that. Thanks for saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that. Like it is a skill that you can develop. And I think like this sounds weird, but it's like the more things that go wrong that you fix, it almost makes you more calm because you're like, well, if I figured that out, then like I'll figure this out too. It's not going to be that bad. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. At some point, you have history on your side, and I can go back to that, and I can take that with me. Say, oh, nothing is as bad as the stories I tell myself about these things are always more horrible than they actually are. But
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really good. What like practically speaking, what sort of things do you do when you need to be calm? Like how do
mm,
you how do you in that moment like get there, Stephanie?
I think honestly, this sounds kind of weird, but like stepping away for a minute, like stepping away and like being able to process like how urgent is this? Is this something I need to deal with now, or am I really frustrated and I can go back to it at a later point? And I think like zooming out in all capacities, and it's funny, like when I've done couples counseling and stuff, like I'll tell couples this to like step away and then go back like in a little bit and finish the conversation. And it's the same thing with tasks that are really overwhelming and stressful because when
mm,
we're really like dialed in and focused, everything feels like it's so big. But when you're able to take a step back and like take a couple deep breaths, maybe go for a walk, have something to eat, and then go back and be like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? The other thing is, I find like it's easy to distract yourself when things are stressful, right? Like we have phones on us all the time that are so easy to distract yourself with. And so sometimes I'll put my phone away and be like, no, okay, like I need to deal with this, get this dealt with. And I think like evaluating urgency because
mm.
It's
sometimes
good.
our bodies tell us everything is urgent and everything is super, super important. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's not, but it's hard for us
It's
to
not.
navigate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good
Right.
word, Stephanie. I maybe just talk for 40 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll hang up and listen.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm
But
sitting
but
on a
the
camp.
problem is every sentence I want to chime in. Like just don't talk. Let her talk.
I know. I know. I feel like I was sitting around a campfire, like just taking it,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, maybe here's another question. You with research, clinical work in your background, like being an entrepreneur and starting your own practice, virtual practice, um, that seems like not the easiest of those three options. Uh, why?
I love that. You're like, what were you
I
thinking?
mean, from one entrepreneur to another, what were you thinking,
Mm.
Stephanie?
Great question. I think anyone who's an entrepreneur, it's a joke, but it's not entirely a joke. You got to be a little unhinged to
Mm. Mm.
go in that
Right.
direction. And so I honestly, I just why like there's so many reasons why I started this company and I am a very anyone who knows me personally, I struggle with decision making, which is hilarious because obviously I run a company and I pull it together for that. But I just knew I knew what the name was going to be. And I went through a phase of like I think there was just like this ripple effect that led me to it. I had like started counseling when COVID hit. And so like I was super
Mm.
comfortable with virtual counseling. I myself tend to be like a bit of a nomad. So the idea of like being tied to one location where your business is just doesn't work for me. I
Hmm.
think that a lot of people really benefit from virtual counseling, and I saw that firsthand. And I saw this, like, I want to create a space where people can come and get easily paired with clinicians. And then things kind of escalated and grew. And I was like, okay, what does this look like to build a company? And I think for me, it was like, yeah, the ethical side and the moral side and like wanting to provide services to Canadians. And then like on a personal note, like I do like a challenge and I
Yeah.
I like to learn new things. And I think that's why I've kind of always lived in multiple worlds. Like I think I would be bored if I did one thing forever. And so I've always done multiple things at the same time. So I guess, yeah, entrepreneurship is very much so that.
Yeah, cool. Why counseling? You know, like you talk about starting this during COVID. Why does this get you out of bed every day?
Yeah, good question. So just to clarify, so I did not start this company during COVID. I started my own counseling career during COVID.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I worked at a nonprofit for a while. And I think that's important because I think it teaches you a lot of counseling
Yeah.
skills doing that. And then I started this kind of once COVID had calmed down. I think it's just my own personal comfort with online counseling. Yeah, I think a couple things. Again, a little bit of a weird one, but I always knew I wanted to be a counselor. Like as a young child, I feel like people never know what they want to do when they grow up. But from elementary school, I always wanted to be a counselor. So that I kind of
Hmm.
knew. And then I think as I've moved through the work, I think seeing the impact in people's lives, which I get maybe sounds a little cliche, but working with people and seeing outcomes and seeing changes and seeing transitions and seeing them like kind of thrive in their own world and like it sounds weird but no longer need you anymore and be like okay like I'm doing super great and yeah it's a very rewarding job and I think there are days where it's really hard and I'm not going to say it's always sunshine and rainbows because most people don't go to their counselor when life's peachy, but you're able to help, and like I really do feel like it's a privilege to like walk alongside people through their traumas and their tribulations and hard times and move through those experiences and then come out on the other end and see like, okay, like I didn't think that I would be able to kind of combat a specific trigger or something, but now I
Yeah.
can, and this doesn't have this detrimental impact on my life anymore. And so I think that that kind of keeps me invested in it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think that's cliche at all. I mean, I think Chris and I would say the same thing. It always sounds cliche until you feel it. And then it's like, well, I
Yeah.
know why people say this now. I know why it's cliche because it's real,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for answering that.
I'm curious if your research what had any connection to your counseling work, and if those two dovetail at all, or if the research piece was I just did this and I was researching like why cats like Canada, and then I got into counseling. I don't know.
Do they?
I don't
No,
know. I
fair
have no idea.
question. So yes, they very much so are connected. Everything I've done in the world of research has been clinical psych research. So very much
Hmm.
so overlaps and I think helpful. I've done a lot of like just kind of the way it's worked out for me, I guess, opportunities
Hmm.
that's arisen, and I'm a big advocate of like taking on opportunities. So I've ended up in the world of addictions research a lot. So I just
Okay, that's what I was
done
curious. Yeah.
a lot of work on my first project was looking at like recovery community centers and working in a detox facility and what
Hmm.
that would be like and supporting people kind of through that process. And then my more recent project that I worked on the Preventer Research Project. It's across the whole world now. It's in Australia, the UK,
Hmm.
Canada, and the US. And so I was part of the Canadian portion, and so working on Preventure programs for high school students. And so
Hmm.
those who are more potentially at risk of engaging in substance use. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
all of my research has been connected to like substance use concerns, which has like helped me to be, I guess, more specifically a better counselor when it comes to dealing with substance use and addictions,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
specifically.
really
So,
good.
Yeah.
yeah, I've been able to kind of pair those two worlds.
Yeah. Do you miss the research world?
I still do it. So no,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so I do part-time work in a lab right now. So I do still live in the research world a little bit. I like to back to that whole I do like to do multiple things
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I was gonna say that's you'd be bored if you're only doing a. the one thing.
If
That's
you're
why I
only
was
starting a business.
that's why I was in this other meeting yesterday, because I too can get bored if I only have one thing to do. So yeah.
Same. Same. Three peas in a pod here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's true. And it helps to, and I also think they complement each other so well. And I do find it interesting and fascinating. And it's helpful. And like, I do like writing and doing the kind of data analysis and writing papers and stuff. So yeah,
yeah.
just get to do both worlds.
Yeah. Can I ask another question? Can I jump in? Uh, you said you worked for a nonprofit and
Mm.
you made the comment of like, I think that was good. That taught me some things. And you alluded to like, you think every counselor should spend time in that world. Maybe that's not how you meant it, but what did you learn in that season that was only going to be learned in that season?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and totally agree with that. I think that there's different populations that you work with, and I think that I'm trying to think of how to word this, but it's very hard to explain if you haven't done it, but I feel like if there's any counselors listening to this right now who've worked in like private practice and nonprofit, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know what she's talking about." Um, but yeah, there's different populations that you work with. You learn different skills, and I think that that's really helpful in both worlds of like private practice and nonprofit. And I think, yeah, being able to support people who maybe wouldn't be otherwise able to afford counseling services. I think it's really beneficial and yeah, it taught me a lot. And I also think that having a team to start out with is another big piece for counselors. So you're not as isolated. Like I had a group of counselors that I worked with, and it was an amazing group of women. We were all very close and supportive. And I think that that also helps as you're starting your counseling journey to have those supports and to have those people to turn to if you're like, this session was really hard or this session was really overwhelming. You have someone to go to. And so those are kind of part
Yeah.
of the reasons why I think a nonprofit or even like a big group practice that would also you'd probably get a similar vibe. But yeah, I think nonprofits are really helpful for counselors to work at if possible.
Yeah.
So do you have a person or people in your life now as you start your own, you're entrepreneurial and you're doing your thing? Do you still have people like that in your life that you turn to that are able to help you process through things?
Yeah, so I think it's a different capacity now. It's not like the
Hmm.
kind of constant that it is when you're in like a nonprofit office. But yeah, like
Hmm.
I have a clinical supervisor who I've been working with since I started counseling at
Hmm.
this nonprofit actually, who I still see
Hmm.
like every 6 weeks or so, just as a check-in point. And it's also helpful for like new ideas and new perspectives when you're working with clients, right? Someone to help support you in that way. So I think clinical supervision is really beneficial. And then just I have other friends who are also clinicians, which I think is helpful because there's always that line, right, of like you have to make sure that you're maintaining confidentiality and ethics. And so that's
Yeah.
where clinical supervision is really helpful.
Hmm.
You have someone to turn to for that support if necessary.
Stephanie, let me ask you this, and you maybe this is too personal, and you can answer kind of however you want. 10 years from now,
Mhm.
virtual connect. What are your hopes? Like what do you hope for in the work that you're doing right now? 10 years from now.
Oh, I love this. So if I could like miracle question of like wave a magic wand
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
whatever I'd want, I would really like I can't give you numbers, which I should be able to give you numbers, but I can't think of that right now. But I would love to have like a big team of clinicians and like I think my dream was always to offer a service that was able to support all Canadians across Canada. And I think having counselors who specialize in different areas
Mm,
um, able to see people in different
Hmm.
provinces, as well as like diversifying our language of counseling. So we have a couple counselors who are able to offer services in different languages. And
mm,
maybe this just comes from me only being able to speak one language, but I think that that's such a great skill. And it's also so nice to be able to kind of receive counseling in like your native language.
yeah,
And so I think really expanding and being able to continue to follow the dream and follow the mission of like servicing Canadians. It's in multiple provinces with multiple specialties. And a big piece of that is onboarding more counselors and just kind of growing. Like I've created a company, so like ideally there really isn't a ceiling.
yeah.
Obviously need to expand
Hmm.
on our in staff as we grow. But yeah, other than that, like I think that is like my dream to be able to have a big directory of counselors where someone's like, I don't know where to go for help. I don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
And they have lots of options, lots of supports, lots of people to pick from. So that would be the goal. That would be the dream.
Yeah, I love that. So here's another question that stirred up as you were saying that. So I mean, Chris and I spend like our lives on Zoom, right?
Mhm.
Like we spend so much
Yeah.
time.
I was Zooming before Zoom was a thing. That's what
Before,
I like to
yeah,
say. Yeah.
before it was
Anyway.
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think twice about being on a screen with
Mm.
anybody. Um, but I'm curious. Like I assume virtual counseling is new for some people. Like what is the climate for that in Canada where you're at? Like, yeah, tell me a little bit about like that world.
Absolutely. So I always like to give this example when I'm like talking about virtual counseling. So when I was going through school, you meet with a clinical supervisor once a week. And so obviously, as I was going through as like an 8-month practicum, I was meeting with my clinical supervisor weekly. And I'll never forget near the end of the time, we were planning to go for like a breakfast celebration or whatnot. And she made a comment. She's like, "Well, I've met you in person." And I was like, "No, no, you haven't. We've never met in person." Um, and I like to tell that story as a means of like the recognition of like you can form a very deep connection with people through online presence. I do think that like video calls are better. I prefer that to like phone counseling, which I will do phone counseling as
Mhm.
well for people who are in like remote locations where Wi-Fi and whatnot might not be as easily accessible. But I always say like it's a personal preference. I think that virtual counseling is great because it gives you the ability to do it in your home. You have the ability, like you're cutting out the commute time. You can wear whatever you want to wear. You can be comfortable. You can be in a space that maybe feels better for you. You
Yeah.
have accessibility to counselors that maybe live like 5 hours away.
Yeah.
You have the ability to also time zone, right? Like that can be in your favor. If you're a morning person and you live in BC, like maybe it'd be best for you to have a counselor like on like closer to the East Coast, right? And then the other piece
Mhm.
to that is like you're not running into people. Like you're not gonna run into your
Right.
counselor anywhere. You kind of have a bit of separation. So I think there's a lot of perks to virtual. And now I do always like to say that sometimes people just prefer in person. And you know what? That's totally awesome. I support that. And we'll try to help you get connected with an in-person clinic in the area that you live. We've tried to like form relationships with a couple just to give us a chance to like refer to different clinics if we have people who are very adamant that they want in person. And that's totally fair. So I always say like there's no research or indications that in-person counseling or virtual counseling is better, that I've seen at least. I should preface that as of right now that I've
Hmm.
seen. However, I do think it's a personal preference. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I just I appreciate your like your posture and your tone. Like I
Mm.
we can hear it in your voice how excited you are about
Hmm.
this and offering services. Um, uh, can I throw an unexpected question your way?
of course you can.
Of course.
Because she has editing veto power,
She has
and
editing.
so do I.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Uh,
go.
so Chris and I will use a phrase often. So
Mm.
we're definitely like firmly in the leadership world. And
Mhm.
again, like leadership is even kind of fluid. Like everybody leads
We're
something.
not clinicians, we're coaches.
There's one writer named Ruth Haley Barton that we really
Mm.
appreciate, and she writes primarily about like the church world leadership. That's kind of where our background is, but we often go back to Ruth Haley Barton, who will say if a leader isn't investing in their own growth, they are disqualified from leadership. And like we take that and we apply to ourselves, um,
Mm.
Mhm.
but we don't hear that in a finger waggy shame kind of way. We hear that in a like an invitational kind of way. We would also say like a therapist and a coach would be ideal. Like if everybody could have a good therapist and a good coach,
Yeah.
great. What would you want to say to somebody listening who's maybe saying, I don't think I need those things?
First of all, I love that and I totally agree with it. And I think before we had even met on the show, I said like I'm a big advocate of like the honesty and what it means to run a company and be an entrepreneur. And the first thing that came to mind for me is like when I started this company, I had a lot of friends be like, "Oh, that's so cool that like you own a company." And I was like, "No, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work." And this idea of like, "Oh, I'm going to start a company and like make a bunch of money." No, I mean, maybe if you're let me know. But I think you have to be passionate. You have to be
Yeah.
passionate. You have to be prepared to like wake up at 6 a.m. and do things and stay up until 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. And not that that's necessarily the best work-life balance always. But you have to love what you do. And you have to want to do it. And there's so many elements to my company that like I want to do it and I enjoy doing it and I enjoy learning and I enjoy being like,
Hmm.
oh, this is some like an area of advertisement or an area that I want to get into or okay, like I can enhance our website here or I can offer this so that this process is better or this process is smoother. And so I think that yeah, 100% like you have to be what I hear from that is you have to be so passionate and you have to want to do this and you have to really believe in your business and believe and do it because you want to, not because you're like, oh, I'm gonna be rich one day.
Well,
That is
right.
my take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a clinician, you're a therapist, you've worked in a nonprofit, you've done the research thing, you understand, you've referenced the nervous system, you understand things about human beings. And the thing about human beings is like until we're done breathing, there's so much that we don't know that we don't know. And
Yeah.
so, can we continue to have a posture where there are things I need to discover about myself that are actually in my way?
Yeah.
And, and if those things, if we can just remove them a little bit at a time, uh, yeah. So I appreciate your posture too, and what I hear. I think any venture that people find themselves in, and I don't care what it is, there's always an opportunity or a need to manage ourselves, to like
Mhm.
understand ourselves in such a way that, oh, that's going to set me off right now. And when it sets what sets me off and what sets Kurt off are not the same thing, and we react and behave differently when those things happen, right? So, from okay, I'm a clinical therapist, and I start a business, and I know this about myself, and this is how I think or how I try to show up in ways that are truest to who I am, and not out of my reactive patterns.
But yeah, I honestly, Chris, going off of what you just said, I think that that is such a valuable thing and something that when I first started this, somebody told me, do the things that you like and hire people to do the other things.
Mm,
And I think that may come from a place of privilege because I will be the first to say that that is not always an option at the beginning when you're running your own
right.
company.
Yeah.
You kind of, I laugh because there's times where I've answered the phone. I'm like, oh, yes, I'm the admin person, or like, I am the HR,
Yeah.
or I'm the accountant. You're everything.
Let
Um,
me connect you to our payables office.
it's just another email that
Hello.
I will answer.
Exactly.
But I think that a big piece of that, and like something that I learned, and I've outsourced this, and we've had a great relationship from the very beginning, is I knew I needed an online presence, and a social media is so common, and a social media presence is so important. And I hate social media. I hate posting on social media. It's not my thing. I've never been one of those girls who got great photos and all of this stuff. It's not me. And so I've been working with this amazing marketing team for since the very beginning, and they make it look great. And I get compliments on my social media all of the time. And I remember logically being like, I would so much rather sit in the counseling sessions and kind of if we're doing like a dollars per dollars in the business world, use that money towards social media than sit there and try to make content that is going to look way worse than anything that she would do. And that was something that I was like, yeah, I like counseling. I enjoy that a lot. Um, I hate making social media posts. And I'm gonna find someone and she does an amazing job. I get compliments on it all the time. It looks wonderful. And I have to always say, it is not me. And if you look at my personal Instagram, it becomes very clear that they're
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
So That's, I think, one thing that I learned, like do the things you love, outsource the other thing,
Hmm.
is a big one. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie, we're coming to the end here, and this has just been a great conversation. Thanks for being so honest. Thanks for being vulnerable. Uh, for our Canadian friends who can reach out to you and
Yes.
you can work with at a clinical level, how do they find you in Virtual Connect?
absolutely. So we are available to service all Canadians, as you've shared. We are available through virtualconnect.ca. There is a little book now button. You can book in a free 15-minute discovery call with me, and I'd be happy to chat with you about potentially supports, getting connected with a counselor, or if you're just curious, like, what is counseling like? There's no
Hmm.
obligation. You're welcome to ask me whatever questions. Happy to help, happy to assist. Alternatively, you're also welcome to send me an email at info@virtualconnect.ca, and I'd be more than happy to connect with you either way.
Yeah, cool. I'll put those in the show notes for anybody listening. They can just click on that below.
Awesome.
Uh, Stephanie, thanks again so much. It's just been a pleasure. Thanks for the work you do, and best
Hmm.
of luck with Virtual Connect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure being on your show, and thank you very much for having me.